The drama begins by going 2 weeks back in time. A woman opens the door to her apartment and casually says she is home, but no one answers. The only voice that greets her is her smart home system. She smiles softly, completely used to the silence. This woman is Sue Meyer, the main character, and she is perfectly comfortable living alone. While getting ready, she talks to herself and calculates her daily schedule. Out of 24 hours, she spends 6 hours sleeping and 10 hours working. After everything else, she realizes she only has about 3.5 hours left for herself. Instead of feeling unhappy, she smiles and says today is perfect because she has no plans, no promises, and no one to answer to. For Sue Meyer, being alone means freedom and happiness. Later, her friend Jian drags her to a busy shopping mall. However, they are not there for fun. Jian believes they have an important problem to solve: what Sue Meyer should wear to their college friend Ondong's wedding. Many of their old classmates will be there, including Sue Meyer's ex-boyfriend Sejun, who is now dating someone else. Jian insists that Sue Meyer must look stunning. But Sue Meyer doesn't care. She says their relationship ended long ago, and she has nothing left to prove. Jian still forces her to try on a beautiful dress. Later, while eating together, Jian asks if Sue Meyer ever feels lonely living alone. Sue Meyer answers confidently that she never does. When Jian asks if she ever thinks about dating again, Sue Meyer gives a very logical answer. She says having a boyfriend would only make her more tired and spend more money, and it wouldn't even help her career. To her, dating simply feels inefficient. Jian laughs and says the real problem is ending up with an immature man who drains your energy. Sue Meyer shrugs and says the solution is easy. Just find a mature man, or someone exactly like her. Jian jokingly says that means someone who is calm but a little cold and distant. Sue Meyer proudly accepts that description. Soon the story moves to the office of Nemo Webtoon Company. The employees are shocked because a senior producer named Mr. Cho, who was about to become the next team leader, suddenly quits his job and walks out without explanation. Rumors quickly spread that he couldn't handle working with Nemo's top webtoon writer, Yoon Song. Now everyone is wondering who will take over her account. 2 names come up immediately: Park Hae-young, the company's rising star producer, and Sue Meyer. When Sue Meyer overhears this conversation, her worried expression makes it clear she already senses trouble. Later, the company director invites both Sue Meyer and Park Hae-young to what seems like a casual meeting at a cafe. They arrive separately, each bringing macarons for the director, but when they see each other there, they realize this meeting was planned. The director explains that one of them must become Yoon Song's new producer. He also complains that both of them rarely attend company dinners and show little team spirit, though he promises to choose based only on skill. What happens next is unexpectedly funny. Instead of fighting for the position, both of them try to push the responsibility onto the other. Park Hae-young praises Sue Meyer's ability to manage writers and says she should take the job. Sue Meyer quickly responds by praising his perfect success record with famous writers. She even reminds him that he once said her projects had nothing special, proving she isn't suitable for the role. Park Hae-young calmly argues that Yoon Song is already successful, so the job shouldn't be difficult. Sue Meyer sarcastically replies that if it's so easy, then he should handle it himself. The director watches their argument silently before finally sighing. Realizing neither of them wants the job, he simply points at Sue Meyer and announces that she will manage Yoon Song. He explains that Sue Meyer currently handles only 6 writers, and was also the one who originally encouraged Yoon Song to write romance stories. Before Sue Meyer can protest, the director stands up, says he has another meeting, and leaves her stuck with a responsibility she never wanted. Soon after, the story introduces Yoon Song, the company's #1 webtoon writer. Outside her apartment, her former producer is desperately knocking on the door, begging her to send the final files. Inside, Yoon Song calmly uploads episode 21 of her webtoon The Man to Know. The screen flashes, upload complete. She releases it exactly when she wants, on her own terms. At that moment, Sue Meyer's narration quietly plays in the background. She compares Yoon Song to a virus that once invaded her entire daily life. This line hints that their relationship is not just professional. There is a deeper history between them. Meanwhile, during the middle of the workday, Yoon Song suddenly calls Sue Meyer. Yoon Song calls Sue Meyer, while clearly upset about the online hate she has been receiving. She angrily talks about the trolls attacking her work, and says she is already thinking about taking legal action. In fact, she claims she has contacted a lawyer through her sister. Sue Meyer calmly tries to comfort her and tells her not to worry too much. But suddenly, Yun Song changes the topic and asks if she can skip publishing episodes this month. Sue Meyer is shocked by the request because Yun Song had already taken a break the previous month. The conversation ends in an awkward silence. The next day, Sue Meyer attends her friend Andong's wedding. When John sees her, she quickly realizes something is different. Sue Meyer is not wearing the fancy dress John picked for her. Instead, she has chosen a very simple outfit. Sue Meyer casually explains that there is no reason to try so hard to impress anyone today. Soon their old university friends gather, and the wedding turns into a small reunion. Everyone compliments Sue Meyer and talks about how beautiful she looks. They laugh, share memories, and catch up on their lives. Someone mentions that Sejun, Sue Meyer's ex-boyfriend, is still living in America and will return next week. Even though he isn't there, people still talk about his successful life. Sue Meyer listens quietly without reacting. But after the ceremony, she remembers a moment from her past. Once, she and Sejun saw a guest holding a baby at a wedding. Sejun softly said that one day, he would like to carry his own child like that. Sue Meyer asked him who he planned to marry. He simply replied, someone, someday. The answer hurt her more than she expected, because whenever he talked about the future, he always said I, never we. It was a small moment, but it revealed the quiet loneliness hidden behind Sue Meyer's independent life. Later at work, Sue Meyer officially receives the handover for Yun Song's project from Park Ka-young. He carefully explains all the important details: webtoon performance numbers, advertising contracts, and reader statistics. Everything is neatly organized and perfectly prepared. While listening, Sue Meyer thinks to herself that he must feel relieved after passing such a difficult responsibility to her. Before leaving, Park Ka-young surprisingly gives her a Sonic coupon. He says their former coworker suggested she might need it. Sue Meyer immediately refuses, saying she would rather sleep at home no matter what happens. Park Ka-young simply smiles politely and walks away, leaving Sue Meyer staring after him with mixed feelings. Just then, one of her coworkers reminds her that she has a meeting with Yun Song today. It happens to be lunchtime, and everyone in the office is heading out to eat. But before the meeting even begins, Yun Song suddenly appears outside the restaurant earlier than expected. The moment the coworkers see her, they quickly slip away, leaving Sue Meyer alone with the famous writer. During lunch, Sue Meyer carefully begins discussing the webtoon storyline and gently raises a concern about how the story is developing. During lunch, Sue Meyer carefully brings up a concern about Yun Song's webtoon. She gently suggests that the story might be becoming repetitive. In the plot, the heroine is constantly bullied by Chi-woo's family until Chi-woo arrives to save her, and Sue Meyer worries readers may start losing interest. Yun Song immediately disagrees. She argues that even if readers complain, they still keep reading the story. Then she adds something more personal, saying she always expected Sue Meyer to think this way too analytical and not really on the same wavelength as her. Sue Meyer calmly responds that if Yun Song didn't want to work with her, she could have simply told the director. But Yun Song brushes the comment aside and says they will figure things out as they go, just like in the past. Hearing those words reminds Sue Meyer of their previous experiences together, long nights filled with stress, deadlines, and constant chaos. Soon after, a man named Min Young from the tech company Do comes to meet Yun Song. He introduces a new virtual dating service called Boyfriend on Demand. The app already features Chi-woo, the popular male character from Yun Song's webtoon, and users have responded very positively. Now Min Young wants permission to add male characters from Yun Song's other stories as well.
Yun Song jokes that most of her male characters are basically cheaper versions of Chi-woo anyway. But Sue Meyer suddenly suggests a more interesting idea. Instead of using the main male leads, why not use the second male leads, the characters who never got their happy endings? Her idea comes with a clever slogan: "It's your turn to make him the main character." Min Young loves the concept immediately, and the collaboration is almost confirmed. After the meeting, Min Young quietly approaches Sue Meyer with another proposal. He asks her to become a paid beta tester for the Boyfriend on Demand app. For 1 month, she would try the service, go on virtual dates, and give honest feedback. At first, Sue Meyer finds the idea strange. It sounds like extremely realistic role-playing. But when Min Young mentions she will be paid for it, her attitude quickly changes. She accepts his card and says she will consider the offer. Later that night, Sue Meyer sits alone in her apartment. The Boyfriend on Demand device has already been delivered, Following the instructions, she places the glowing ring-shaped headset on her head and presses the red button. The ring lights up instantly. Suddenly, the world around her begins to transform. The temperature shifts, and the room slowly changes into a completely different place. Shocked, Sue Meyer looks around. Then she notices someone standing right in front of her, a face she recognizes instantly. It is Chi-woo, the fictional hero from Yoon Song's webtoon. At that moment, the system cheerfully announces, "Congratulations, Miss Sue Meyer. You have met your first date." Chi-woo gently asks if she is all right, but Sue Meyer can barely hear him. Her mind is frozen because this man is supposed to exist only in a comic. Panicking, she quickly removes the ring. In the next second, the entire world disappears, and she is suddenly back in her apartment. Her heart is racing as she stares at the device in disbelief. After a moment, she mutters with admiration that Min Young must be a genius. Later, Sue Meyer decides to log in again, this time trying to stay calm. When the system reconnects, she finds herself standing in a bright and colorful place decorated with posters and lights. A cheerful young woman stands in front of her and introduces herself as Sue Meyer's personal dating manager. Confused, Sue Meyer asks where they are and what is going on. The manager explains that this is a virtual reality world created by the app. Every user automatically receives a special ring when they enter. The rule is simple: if the ring is removed, the user will instantly log out. After hearing this explanation, Sue Meyer pauses for a moment and then asks the most important question. Sue Meyer's first concern is simple but important. She asks the manager if her real body is safe back in her apartment. The manager casually replies that it probably is. After that, she leads Sue Meyer to a door with a sign above it that reads, "The Man You Think You Know." Sue Meyer instantly recognizes the title. It's Yoon Song's webtoon. Realizing what is about to happen, she slowly steps through the door. On the other side, she finds herself inside a world that looks exactly like the webtoon she has read so many times. The elegant offices of SY Group appear before her, with shiny floors and employees walking around in neat suits. Everything feels incredibly real. When Sue Meyer looks down at herself, she is shocked to see that she is dressed as Unara, the female lead of the story. Somehow, she has become a hotel employee inside the very plot she knows so well. Before she can fully understand the situation, she accidentally sits down on someone's desk. Just then, the office door suddenly opens and Chi-woo walks in. In a webtoon, Sue Meyer always thought the artist had exaggerated his looks, making him unrealistically handsome. But seeing him here in this virtual world proves the opposite. The drawing actually didn't do him justice. For a moment, Sue Meyer is completely speechless. Chi-woo notices her sitting on his desk and coldly orders her to get off immediately. Embarrassed, she quickly stands up and heads for the door. But before she can leave, Chi-woo stops her and studies her face carefully. Then he quietly asks if they have met before. The moment she hears that line, Sue Meyer's thoughts explode with recognition. She knows this scene perfectly because she has read it many times in the webtoon. As expected, Chi-woo steps closer and begins his dramatic speech. He says he has been searching for her ever since the day she saved him, that he hasn't been able to forget her, and that her face appears in his dreams every night. Sue Meyer listens to the entire emotional confession, and then suddenly blurts out in disbelief that the line sounds completely ridiculous. In her mind, it is the most cringeworthy dialogue she has ever heard. Overwhelmed by everything happening, Sue Meyer quickly removes the ring from her finger. In an instant, the virtual world disappears and she logs out in panic. Meanwhile, in the real world, tension begins to rise inside the Nemo webtoon office. The ratings for Yoon Song's webtoon, The Man to Know, have slowly started to drop. The company director secretly calls Park Kae-yang into his office and shares a new strategy. A rising webtoon artist named Hwani will now release episodes every Friday the same day as Yoon Song. This means the two series will compete directly. Before the meeting ends, the director adds that Sue Meyer doesn't need to know about this plan. However, news spreads quickly in the office. When Sue Meyer hears about it, she immediately confronts the team. She argues that such an important scheduling decision should have involved her since she is Yoon Song's producer, but the response she receives is cold and dismissive. They bluntly remind her that she is not the boss, and the decision has already been made. After that conversation, Sue Meyer begins noticing something strange. Everywhere she goes, she keeps seeing Chi Woo. His face appears on subway advertisements, book displays in stores, and even on posters at a plastic surgery clinic as a beauty reference. At a cafe, she overhears two women excitedly talking about how handsome he is. As she walks through the city, it almost feels as if the world is constantly reminding her of him. Later, Sue Meyer logs back into the Boyfriend on Demand app, this time determined to stay calm and professional. When she enters the virtual world again, she realizes the story has moved forward. Her character has been transferred to the secretary's office, bringing her closer to Chi Woo. Soon the chief secretary arrives, a strict and elegant woman named Min Young. She formally introduces herself and explains that she will conduct an interview on behalf of Mr. Choi. Sue Meyer finds the situation absurd. It feels like a job interview just to go on a date. Still, Min Young asks a series of questions about Sue Meyer's hobbies, favorite foods, and ideal type. Sue Meyer answers honestly, saying she enjoys all kinds of meat. Throughout the interview, she struggles to keep from laughing, wondering why Chi Woo isn't asking these questions himself. Two more questions arrive from Chi Woo through Min Young, whether she has any allergies and what her shoe size is. Sue Meyer simply raises an eyebrow but says nothing. Soon after, Chi Woo calls her to his office. When she tries to knock, Min Young quickly stops her and explains that Mr. Choi dislikes repeated knocking. Only one soft tap is allowed. Even when Sue Meyer tries again, the secretary still complains that it was slightly too loud. Finally, Sue Meyer enters the office and freezes in surprise. The entire room is filled with beautiful flowers arranged everywhere. In the middle of the office stands Chi Woo, calmly watching her reaction. He explains that this is the best way to impress a woman. Looking around at the decorations, Sue Meyer casually says he really didn't have to go so far. But Chi Woo replies seriously that even though he is trying to seduce her, he expects a bit more respect than such a casual response. Embarrassed, Sue Meyer quickly gathers herself and asks what happens next. Chi Woo simply tells her to follow him. Their date soon turns into something extravagant. First, he takes her to a luxury department store and tells her to try on anything she wants. For a moment, Sue Meyer almost forgets she is inside a virtual simulation. After that, he rents an entire private swimming pool just for the two of them. Confused, she asks why he booked the whole place if they are not even going to swim. He calmly asks if she dislikes it. She pauses before admitting that it's actually quite nice. The date becomes even more dramatic when Chi Woo takes her on a private jet to a surprise dinner on a yacht under the night sky. Dolphins swim beside the boat as they sail across the ocean. Even though Sue Meyer tries to act unimpressed, she secretly enjoys the magical moment. Later, they walk together along a quiet beach. Suddenly, without warning, Chi Woo turns to her and says they should get engaged and that he will handle his parents. Shocked, Sue Meyer nearly spits out her drink and stares at him in disbelief, asking if he is crazy. Chi Woo calmly points out that she just responded to her proposal from a wealthy man with a spit take. She quickly explains that they are only dating, nothing serious. Chi Woo thinks for a moment and then calmly says that's fine, they don't have to get engaged.
For a brief moment, Chi Woo's confident expression softens. He looks almost vulnerable and quietly asks Sue Meyer if she could at least become his girlfriend. He admits that he has never asked anyone for anything before. Before she can react, he gently kisses her and then hands her a small gift, asking if he has to beg for that too. Sue Meyer's mind completely freezes. In her thoughts, she feels as if her brain is overwhelmed with excitement. Flustered and embarrassed, she quickly turns her face away. Chi Woo notices and asks why she is avoiding his gaze. She awkwardly pretends nothing happened. He simply smiles at her. But suddenly, everything changes. The virtual world shuts down, and a calm system voice announces that her 50 hours of dating Chi Woo have ended. Sue Meyer is shocked and asks what the message means. The system repeats that her service time has expired. Panicking, she reaches toward Chi Woo and shouts his name as the world begins to fade away. In the next second, she finds herself back in her apartment, sitting alone with the ring in her hand. Only then does she read a rule she ignored earlier. Each character can only be dated for 50 hours. However, even before this happened, Sue Meyer had already taken action. The previous night, still frustrated after leaving the virtual world, she went to Yoon-song's house and knocked loudly on the door. Yoon-song opened it looking tired and irritated. Soo-meyer immediately explained that she had finally understood what Chi-woo's character needed. Without mentioning the app, she shared her idea as a creative suggestion. She believed the problem with the webtoon wasn't Chi-woo himself. Instead, it was the overly dramatic dialogue and exaggerated scenes. Chi-woo was actually a classic fantasy character, the kind that readers secretly enjoy. The real solution was to remove the cheesy moments and focus on the emotional fantasy he represented. A powerful man who gives special attention to only one woman. Yoon-song listened carefully and worked through the entire night. The next morning, the results were immediate. When the new episode was released, readers responded enthusiastically. The rankings refreshed, and Yoon-song's webtoon The Man to Know quickly climbed back to number 1, beating its competitor. The Nemo office burst into celebration, and everyone congratulated Soo-meyer. She simply stood there smiling quietly, still thinking about everything that had happened. Later, Soo-meyer meets Min-young to submit her review of the app. After reading it, he compliments her clear and thoughtful feedback. Curious, he asks what it felt like to date a character from her own webtoon. Soo-meyer pauses before answering honestly that it was more than fun, it was actually exciting. Min-young then asks why she ended the session early. Soo-meyer explains that Chi-woo set the standard too high from the beginning. Min-young calmly reminds her that there are 899 other characters available in the system. If she stops now, she might regret missing out. That evening, Soo-meyer debates with herself at home. She keeps insisting that she doesn't need to log in again because she already understands the service. But after pacing around the room, she suddenly changes her mind. Since the trial lasts a month, she might as well use it fully. With that thought, she picks up the device and puts the ring back on. Soo-meyer logs into the boyfriend on-demand world again. The dating manager greets her warmly and says she seems lucky because she has matched with another great character. Still doubtful, Soo-meyer follows her while thinking to herself whether any man could really be more exciting than Chi-woo, the perfect male lead she just left behind. Soo-meyer soon steps into a completely different virtual world. Unlike Chi-woo's elegant and controlled environment, this place feels lively, warm, and a little chaotic. The system announces that she has met her second date. At that moment, she sees a boy across the campus, but he simply glances at her and walks away with his friend without saying anything. Soo-meyer watches him leave and jokingly thinks that the most popular guy on campus must secretly like her. Of course, that isn't true. At least not yet. Soon she finds herself exploring the campus with her friend Suji. They wander around the university together, looking at club booths and enjoying the excitement of the new semester. While walking around, they notice a long line near the student council booth. Curious, they learn that people are waiting for tickets to a kendo match. The event is already sold out because everyone wants to see one person, Kong Jun. Somehow, Suji manages to get tickets, so they head inside the gym to watch. Inside the arena, the crowd is cheering loudly. On the floor, a young man wearing full kendo gear finishes a match with impressive skill. The audience erupts with excitement, and many girls wave signs with his name. This is Kong Jun, an architecture student and the president of the kendo club. He is clearly the most popular guy on campus, and the same person Soo-meyer met earlier. Later, Soo-meyer joins the kendo club, along with Suji and several other girls. Many of them openly admit they only joined because of Kong Jun. During the first practice, Kong Jun begins teaching Soo-meyer the basic moves. She carefully follows his instructions and swings the sword as he demonstrates. When she finishes, the entire room goes quiet. Surprisingly, she performs the move almost perfectly. Even Kong Jun looks impressed and asks if it is really her first time practicing. Soo-meyer herself seems confused by how well she did. Kong Jun gives her a rare compliment before calmly walking away. Encouraged, Soo-meyer decides to take the first step. After practice, she asks Kong Jun if he would like to have dinner with her sometime. He studies her for a moment and then tells her she is being a bit impatient. Maybe they can do that later when they know each other better. Then he simply leaves, leaving Soo-meyer stunned. She immediately complains to the dating manager that he was supposed to fall for her already since this is boyfriend on demand. The manager calmly reminds her that not every character is designed like Chi-woo. Some relationships require effort. Hearing that, Soo-meyer realizes this situation is starting to feel a lot like real life. Still, she refuses to give up. From that day on, Soo-meyer begins trying harder. Every day she appears on campus with a slightly different look, hoping to catch Kong Jun's attention. One day, she even sits beside him during a lecture about architecture. While the professor talks about ancient buildings and structures, Sue Meyer barely hears a word. Her entire focus is on the boy sitting next to her. Eventually, during kendo practice, Kong Jun challenges her to a one-on-one match and tells her to give it her best. She accepts the challenge seriously. When the match ends, the scoreboard reveals a surprising result. Sue Meyer wins. Everyone in the club is shocked. Later, the club hosts a welcome party for new members. The room is full of laughter, drinks, and games. Sue Meyer joins in confidently, laughing with the seniors and enjoying the party. When Kong Jun arrives, she notices another girl sitting close to him and instantly feels annoyed. After a while, Sue Meyer walks straight up to his table and boldly tells him that she likes him. The entire group bursts into laughter, assuming she is drunk. Kong Jun simply replies calmly that they barely know each other yet. His response is not rude, just honest, but Sue Meyer doesn't see it as rejection. She sees it as a challenge. Later that night, the two of them end up walking back toward campus together. Their conversation feels natural, but suddenly begins to rain heavily. They start running through the rain, laughing as they go, until they are completely soaked. Eventually, they stop under a small shelter near the dormitory. Seeing his wet clothes, Sue Meyer tells him he shouldn't go anywhere like that and suggests drying them first. She leads him to the campus laundry room. While his clothes are drying, they talk quietly. When Kong Jun says he should leave, Sue Meyer boldly admits she wants to stay there with him a little longer. Kong Jun looks at her for a long moment and then smiles slightly. He tells her she is truly unique and very bold. Before leaving, he turns back and gently reminds her not to catch a cold. A few days quietly pass after that moment. One afternoon, Sue Meyer is quietly studying in the library when she notices Kong Jun nearby. When he sees her looking at him, he walks over and casually asks if she has eaten yet. She says no, so he simply suggests they go eat together. They end up at a small restaurant, sitting across from each other and chatting comfortably. Later, they begin spending more time together while working on Kong Jun's architecture project. Sitting side by side with papers spread across the table, Kong Jun sketches ideas while Sue Meyer shares her thoughts. Slowly, they grow closer through these simple but happy moments. Meanwhile, in the real world, things are also changing at Nemo's office. The director calls Sue Meyer in and tells her that the writer Yoon Song has requested 2 weeks off. Surprisingly, he also compliments Sue Meyer on the latest episode and tells her to keep up the good work. Before she can even react, he grants her the same 2-week break. When she shares the news with a coworker, they suggest going on a trip to Jeju Island, but Sue Meyer declines. Later, Sue Meyer meets her friend Ji-yeon for a meal. During their conversation, Sue Meyer suddenly asks what Ji-yeon would do if she could go back to being 20 years old again. Ji-yeon jokingly gives a silly answer that makes them both laugh. But Sue Meyer answers seriously. She says she would live her life very differently and be much more direct about her feelings. Ji-yeon laughs and reminds her that she was actually very bold when she was 20. Back then, Sejun liked Naomi, but Sue Meyer chased him until he eventually became her boyfriend. Sue Meyer realizes she had completely forgotten that she was the one who pursued him first. Thinking about it now, she wonders how she became the person she is today. Ji-yeon simply replies that being with Sejun for so long slowly changed her. Soon after, the office team gathers for a company dinner. Park Kyung surprisingly shows up even though he usually avoids these events. He quietly admits that going home alone that evening felt awkward. When the dinner ends, he and Sue Meyer leave the restaurant at the same time. He asks if she's heading home, but she suddenly claims she has a date. Kyung simply tells her to enjoy it and walks away. As he leaves, Sue Meyer realizes she actually has nowhere to go and quietly scolds herself for saying something so ridiculous. Later that night at home, Sue Meyer receives a notification in a group chat. Naomi has sent a wedding invitation. It announces that Naomi and Sejun will be getting married on November 23, 2025. The chat quickly fills with congratulatory messages. Jian privately texts Sue Meyer in shock, wondering why Naomi would send the invitation knowing Sue Meyer was in the chat. Sue Meyer simply stares at the message. Soon after, Sejun calls her to apologize, explaining that Naomi probably didn't think about how uncomfortable the invitation might be for her. Sue Meyer calmly replies that it's just like any other invitation and nothing more. Relieved, Sejun says he's glad she's okay. She politely ends the call, but as soon as the line disconnects, memories begin flooding back. She remembers a younger Sejun on her first day of work, proudly asking if he looked good. Back then, their relationship felt bright and full of excitement. But another memory quickly follows one, much darker. In it, Sejun grabs her wrist during an argument as she tries to walk away. Sumair angrily asks who he thinks he is. Sejun quietly admits that even though he might have said it first, they both already knew their relationship had changed. Sumair insists she never changed, but Sejun softly replies that people do change. He admits he's not sure he can love the person she has become. That moment was when everything between them finally ended. Back inside the Boyfriend on Demand world, the Kendo Club begins a freshman trip. Sumair sits quietly on the bus while old memories replay in her mind. She realizes that after their breakup, she avoided thinking about the happy times because she hated Sejun so much. But now, returning to these memories, she notices something strange. She doesn't hate him anymore. When they arrive, the group steps into a beautiful open area under a wide night sky filled with stars. Calm Jun notices a shooting star and leads Sumair to a quiet spot away from the others. Under the peaceful sky, Sumair suddenly asks if he likes her yet. Kong Jun stays silent. She asks again softly, but he still doesn't answer directly. Then Sumair unexpectedly asks another question. If he marries someone else one day, will he forget about her? Kong Jun calmly replies that people don't lose their memories when they get married. He will remember everything. She asks how he will remember her, the way she was at the beginning or the way things ended. Kong Jun looks at her and answers gently that both moments are part of who she is, so he will remember all of it. Hearing that, Sumair quietly nods and says that is enough. Just as the moment between them becomes more emotional, a system message suddenly appears. It announces that Sumair's 1-month free trial of Boyfriend on Demand has ended. She freezes in shock and desperately protests, but the world disappears anyway. Moments later, she wakes up back in the real world, sitting alone in her apartment. She softly calls Kong Jun's name even though she knows he is gone. 1 month later, Sumair returns to her normal life at Nemo. Work is going well, and the company's web novels are still successful. During a team meeting, the director announces that this year's writing contest will be organized differently. Instead of choosing genres themselves, the writers will be assigned categories. For the romance category, he pairs Sumair and Park Kae-young together. When they hear their names, both of them briefly glance at each other before quickly looking away. After the meeting, the team goes out for drinks. One coworker jokingly tries to set Sumair up on a blind date and even shows a photo of a handsome young man. Everyone excitedly encourages her, but Sumair politely refuses. At that moment, Park Kae-young casually asks if she isn't already seeing someone. She quickly explains that it was just a brief meeting and nothing serious. Later, while searching for taxis, Sumair and Park Kae-young end up walking together. As they talk, Kae-young admits that he is actually looking forward to working with her on the upcoming romance contest. Sumair asks Park Kae-young if he already knew they would be partnered for the romance project. He calmly replies that he had no idea either. Just then, 2 taxis arrive at the end of the street. Kae-young tells her to take the first one. Sumair gets in and gives the driver her address in Yong'an, but the driver casually says he is only heading toward Incheon. Before she can argue, the taxi has already started moving. Later that night, her friend Jian calls to remind her about Dong's housewarming party the next day and warns her not to forget. The following morning, Sumair goes out to buy a gift for the party. While walking through the street, she suddenly notices a huge crowd gathered nearby. At first, she assumes it must be a celebrity event. But when she looks closer, she sees a sign that reads, Boyfriend on Demand Pop-Up Store. At that moment, Min-young notices her in the crowd and quickly comes outside to greet her. He happily offers to show her around the store, but Sumair says she was only passing by. Min-young then asks if she has been enjoying the Boyfriend on Demand app. Sumair honestly admits that she stopped using it after the free trial ended. Min-young looks surprised because her review of the service had been so positive. He even gave her the device as a gift, assuming she would subscribe. Sumair thanks him again but explains that her real life has simply been too busy lately. Soon after, Jian calls again, sounding a little nervous. She finally admits that another guest will be at Dong's party, a man Dong knows well. In other words, they secretly arranged a blind date for Sumair. Surprisingly, Sumair just responds calmly, telling her she did well. When the housewarming party begins, the blind date, Mu, is already there. He treats Sumair kindly and pays a lot of attention to her. As the evening continues, everyone starts playing drinking games, and the mood becomes loud and cheerful. To everyone's surprise, Sumair wins most of the games, making the whole group laugh. Later that night, after the party ends, Moo walks her outside. He tells her he had a wonderful time and says she seems a little shy but very warm and easy to talk to. He even calls her kind and cute before asking what she thinks of him. Sue Meyer politely says she also enjoyed the evening. However, when he asks to meet again, she gently refuses. After saying goodbye, she walks away alone. She tries to call a taxi, but none are available nearby. While checking her phone again and again, she suddenly thinks about the boyfriend she met in the virtual world. The memory makes her smile for a moment, even though she knows he is not real. Later that night at home, Sue Meyer struggles with a decision. She wonders if she should subscribe to the boyfriend on demand service. Sitting alone, she begins comparing real relationships with the virtual one. When she dated in real life, she remembers spending huge amounts of money every month on meals, gifts, and trips. The cost was never small. As she continues thinking, one final question comes to mind. Does boyfriend on demand actually make her happier? After a quiet moment of reflection, she softly admits the answer is yes. Sue Meyer then looks at the subscription page on her phone. The basic plan costs 500,000 won per month. After thinking about everything carefully, Sue Meyer asks herself one last question. If the app truly makes her happier, is there any reason not to use it? Without hesitating any longer, she presses the purchase button. The payment goes through. Soon after, she puts on the device ring and activates the system. When she opens her eyes, she finds herself standing inside a luxurious apartment in the virtual world. The place is spacious, elegant, and softly lit, almost like a five-star hotel. Just then, Uni appears behind her and greets her casually. Sue Meyer jumps in surprise but quickly asks if Uni still remembers her or if the system reset everything. Uni looks slightly offended and tells her not to be ridiculous. She explains that the apartment is now Sue Meyer's personal home inside the boyfriend on demand world. Special items she received before, like the dress from Chi Woo, will remain there, while other items will refresh each month. Sue Meyer walks around the apartment in awe, clearly impressed by how luxurious it is. Uni then shows her the balcony, where the entire city can be seen glowing beautifully at night. Before starting another date, Sue Meyer makes a request. She explains that her last moment with Kong Jun ended at an important point, so she wants to continue that story. However, Uni immediately refuses. She explains that choosing a specific partner is only possible with the premium plan, which costs twice as much. The basic plan Sue Meyer bought only allows random matches. Shocked by the price, Sue Meyer complains. But Uni simply reminds her that there are hundreds of other men in the system to meet. Soon after, Sue Meyer begins her next virtual date. She suddenly finds herself on a commercial airplane wearing a flight attendant uniform. The flight quickly turns chaotic when a passenger pulls out a gun and the plane begins shaking. A secret agent named Baek Hyun-woo is already dealing with the situation, and the system announces that Sue Meyer has started her third date. Seeing the danger, she nervously jokes about the high production value of the paid version before quickly logging out. The next scenario begins immediately. This time she is an intern in a hospital, where an impatient doctor scolds her in the hallway. In the middle of his anger, he suddenly confesses that he has liked her for a week, and dramatically asks her to go with him to Paradise Island. After that, the scene shifts again, this time to a courtroom, where a prosecutor suddenly invites the judge out for the evening, declaring that love stands above the law. More scenarios follow. In one world, Sue Meyer becomes a famous actress who grows close to her loyal bodyguard. In another, she meets a charming idol named Jae Park. A notification soon appears inviting her to a secret date with Jae Park, and she immediately accepts. Through all these different stories, Sue Meyer seems happier as she explores each new experience. Meanwhile, in the real world, Sue Meyer meets Park Kae-young at a cafe. She notices that he usually buys 2 coffees, but today he only orders 1. When she asks about it, he calmly replies that he simply doesn't need the extra cup today. Back at the office, one of her coworkers complains about a disappointing blind date. The man only sent her a simple birthday message and never asked to meet again. Everyone laughs at the awkward text. Sue Meyer grabs the phone and boldly sends the first message herself. Although her coworker panics, the man replies quickly and agrees to meet that weekend. Sue Meyer smiles and says sometimes you just have to try first. Soon after, another problem appears at work. A writer submits a new episode at the last minute, and Sue Meyer uploads it quickly. Later, when she checks the comments online, readers are furious over a typo in an important romantic line. Embarrassed, Sue Meyer sends a strict message to the writer Yoon Sung, telling her to send files before 7 p.m. from now on. Yeonsong reads the message and becomes angry, arguing with readers online and mocking their complaints. Later that night, Sue Meyer logs into the app again. A new scenario begins, and when she looks around, she suddenly hears a familiar voice. It is Kwon Jun. However, he looks older now, almost 10 years older. He stares at her as if he has been waiting a long time and softly asks if it is really her. The screen displays the words "Spring and You" to be continued. Sue Meyer sighs, realizing the system is clearly tempting her to keep her subscription. Still, seeing him again makes her smile. She tells Kwon Jun that he has changed a lot. He laughs gently and replies that 10 years is a long time, but she still looks just as beautiful. In the next scene, the two sit together in a restaurant catching up. Kwon Jun explains that after graduating, he started a company with some friends. When Sue Meyer asks if he still practices kendo, he laughs and says he quit after the day she completely defeated him during their last match. Sue Meyer jokingly tells Kwon Jun that maybe she should have gone easier on him during their last kendo match. But the conversation soon becomes more serious. Kwon Jun admits that he struggled a lot after she suddenly left school. He asks what really happened back then. Sue Meyer pauses and only says that she had her reasons. Kwon Jun quietly says she could have at least stayed in touch. Feeling guilty, Sue Meyer apologizes for disappearing without explanation. Trying to lighten the mood, she talks about her current job and gives him her business card. It reads, Sue Meyer, Webtoon producer, Nemo Company. Kwon Jun smiles and says the job fits her well. For the first time, Sue Meyer feels like the person she is in the virtual world is the same as who she is in real life. Later, they arrive outside her office building. Kwon Jun suggests that they should meet more often from now on, and Sue Meyer agrees with a small smile. He offers to walk her home since it's already dark, but she laughs and says she's not a 20-year-old student anymore. That night, her phone suddenly rings. The caller asks if she arrived home safely. To her surprise, it is Kwon Jun. She wonders how he can call her outside the app, but then learns that even the basic subscription allows characters to send calls and messages after logging out. Kwon Jun says he can't sleep, and Sue Meyer admits she's awake too. They decide to keep talking until they fall asleep, chatting excitedly about horror movies they both enjoy. The next morning at the office, Park Kyung is already waiting for their judging session for the Webtoon contest. He had made coffee earlier, but it has gone cold because Sue Meyer arrived late. As they review the submissions, they quickly start disagreeing. Kyung criticizes one story for being too similar to other works, while Sue Meyer argues that originality is subjective. Their debate grows tense until Kyung finally suggests taking a break. During the break, Sue Meyer receives a message from Kwon Jun asking if she arrived at work safely and wishing her good luck for the day. Later that evening, she meets him near Hapounchong Station. They watch a movie together, sharing popcorn and enjoying the quiet moment. Afterward, Kwon Jun takes her to his office building, which is empty since it's Sunday. They walk through the quiet space before going up to the rooftop, where the city lights stretch out beneath them. After a long silence, Kwon Jun asks if she will disappear again like she did in the past. Sue Meyer looks at him and firmly says she won't leave this time. From then on, they message each other constantly. Every morning he sends a text while heading to work, even during office meetings. Sue Meyer secretly checks her phone under the table to read his messages. One evening, Kwon Jun even comes to pick her up after work. They eat dinner together, take long walks, and drink coffee late at night. Other days they meet quietly at a library, or spend time relaxing together in a park. Meanwhile, Sue Meyer's friend Jian is having a hard time. She cries while telling Sue Meyer that her boyfriend left her. After going on dozens of blind dates without success, she feels exhausted and believes a perfect match might not even exist. Hearing this makes Sue Meyer thoughtful. Later, she calls Kwon Jun and asks him if he believes everyone has a perfect partner somewhere in the world. Kwon Jun admits he isn't sure and jokingly asks if she's questioning him because he's not good enough. Sue Meyer quickly denies that. When they meet again, she asks if he truly enjoys spending time with her. Kwon Jun answers honestly being with her makes him happy, and even thinking about her when they are apart brings him joy. When she asks what exactly he thinks about, he simply says everything: her smile, the way she walks, eats, and talks. Back in the real world, the company organizes a 2-day workshop in the countryside. Surprisingly, Sue Meyer decides to attend, and Park Kyung also joins. During a trivia contest about webtoons and anime, Sue Meyer and Kyung compete fiercely and impress everyone with their knowledge. The game ends in a close tiebreaker, and Kyung wins by just 1 point. Later, during a treasure hunt near a freezing stream, someone drops their phone into the water. While everyone hesitates, Kaeyoung quietly walks into the cold stream and retrieves it. The phone screen is cracked, but he simply hands it back and leaves to change his clothes. The co-workers joke that this kind of heroic action usually impresses women. That night, everyone gathers to drink together. Kaeyoung turns out to have a very low tolerance for alcohol. After only a few drinks, he becomes strangely obsessed with a bottle that doesn't have a lid, insisting that every bottle must have one. His co-workers eventually drag him away to sleep. After the workshop ends, Kaeyoung offers Sue Meyer a ride back to the city. During the quiet drive, he asks about the recent drop in Yoon Sung's webtoon sales. Sue Meyer explains the situation, and Kaeyoung casually mentions that another writer will handle a project that was originally meant for Yoon Sung. Sue Meyer wonders why the director told Kaeyoung instead of telling her. When they reach Yeongnan Station, Sue Meyer thanks him for the ride and prepares to leave. Suddenly, Kaeyoung calmly confesses that he likes her. The words catch her completely off guard. Even after she goes home, Sue Meyer can't stop thinking about his confession. The next day at work, she remains distracted and nervous. When Kaeyoung finally asks if he should wait for her answer or give up, Sue Meyer gently tells him that she is already seeing someone. She says she will pretend she never heard his confession. Kaeyoung quietly accepts her response and returns to work as if nothing happened. Sue Meyer watches him in confusion, surprised by how calmly he moves on. Meanwhile, inside the boyfriend on-demand world, Sue Meyer continues spending time with Kong Jun. One day, Sue Meyer and Kong Jun go ice skating together. Sue Meyer skates smoothly, and Kong Jun is clearly impressed. He asks if she is always this good, and she jokingly replies that she is good at everything. The two continue skating and laughing together. During the date, Sue Meyer casually mentions that someone recently confessed to her. Kong Jun pretends it doesn't bother him, but when she teases him about being jealous, he quickly denies it. Later, while sitting with her friend at a cafe, Sue Meyer suddenly hears Kong Jun's name mentioned by some nearby girls. Curious, she looks him up online and reads reviews written by other users. To her shock, everything described there matches the moments she shared with him. The dates, the conversations, even the lines she said were already written as part of his character's story. One evening, Kong Jun arrives at their usual meeting place holding a bouquet of flowers. There's no special reason. He simply says he felt like giving them to her. They go to dinner together, but Sue Meyer feels strangely uncomfortable. Kong Jun notices the change and asks if something is wrong. She insists everything is fine, yet she avoids looking at him the way she used to. During the conversation, Kong Jun honestly admits that he is afraid she might disappear again like before. Hearing this freezes Sue Meyer. Instead of answering, she apologizes and says they should talk another time. She begins walking away, but Kong Jun quickly follows her and asks if he did something wrong. When she finally turns to face him, he gently pulls her closer and tries to kiss her. But Sue Meyer stops him. She quietly explains that he did nothing wrong. The problem is that she has changed. Now that she knows the truth about the system, his romantic actions no longer feel the same to her. Kong Jun looks shocked as she thanks him for the time they shared and promises that this time she will leave properly instead of disappearing without explanation. Then she removes the boyfriend on-demand ring. Back in the real world, Sue Meyer sits alone and angrily declares that she will cancel her subscription. At that moment, Uni appears. Sue Meyer immediately asks how many women are currently dating Kong Jun through the app. Uni hesitates but eventually shows the number over 12,000 users, and the number continues increasing. Watching it rise makes Sue Meyer feel worse. She realizes that the same romantic words and dates she experienced are being repeated with thousands of other women. Uni asks if the problem is that Kong Jun belongs to everyone. Sue Meyer admits she understands the logic, but emotionally it still hurts. Uni then offers her another option. The system has a special 9001's character, a fully customized boyfriend created specifically for each user. His name is Guang. To create him, Sue Meyer must complete a long survey about her ideal partner. The questions ask about appearance, personality, and relationship style. She answers honestly, saying she prefers a man who is naturally attractive rather than someone who constantly tries to impress others. She also says she likes someone who shows love through actions instead of sweet words. The final question asks her to describe her perfect partner in detail. While she finishes the survey, reviews about Guang appear on the screen. Many users say he is the best character in the system. Some even claim he helped them heal after painful breakups. Soon the system announces that the creation process is complete. When Sue Meyer enters the virtual world again and sees Guang for the first time, she is completely shocked. The moment she recognizes his face, she immediately removes the ring. The boy looks exactly like Park Kae-young. Frustrated, Sue Meyer contacts Uni and demands that the system create another version. She insists something must be wrong with the design. However, Uni calmly checks the data and says the system worked perfectly. According to her survey answers, this space represents her ideal partner. The rules are strict, the custom character can only be generated once. Sue Meyer keeps arguing, even joking angrily, about whether the system made a mistake with his features. But Uni repeats that nothing is wrong. Guang simply looks exactly like the man Sue Meyer described. After the conversation ends, Sue Meyer sits alone, unable to stop thinking about Guang's face. But another memory keeps appearing in her mind, the moment when Park Kae-young confessed to her in the car, saying he liked her. The next day, when she enters the elevator at work, Park Kae-young is standing there. Suddenly it hits her. The face of her perfect man is identical to his. Later, during their webtoon contest judging session, they sit across from each other as usual. Park Kae-young is explaining details about a submission's artwork and panel layout. But Sue Meyer is barely listening. Instead, she keeps staring at his face in disbelief. Now that she is paying attention, she notices small details she never observed before: his double eyelids, straight nose, and the shape of his lips. They all match the features she listed as her ideal type. Realizing what she is doing, Sue Meyer quickly scolds herself for acting strange, but Park Kae-young notices her staring and asks why she keeps looking at him like that. Embarrassed, Sue Meyer panics and awkwardly says that his face just looks a little different today. Park Kae-young asks what she means, but before Sue Meyer can answer, their food arrives. She quickly starts eating to avoid the awkward question. Later that night, she logs back into the Boyfriend on Demand app. This time she appears on a quiet coastal road during a road trip. Her car is broken down and smoke is rising from the engine. Guang calmly checks it and says the engine is completely ruined. When he asks where she was heading, Sue Meyer admits she does not really know, she was simply driving without a destination. Guang casually suggests she follow him if she wants. At that moment, Sue Meyer suddenly remembers one of the questions from the survey she filled out earlier. It asked about her most romantic first meeting, and she had written about meeting a free-spirited man during a trip in an unfamiliar place, just like in a movie. Now the same scene is happening in front of her. Soon she is sitting behind Guang on his motorcycle as they ride down the coastal road. Sue Meyer finds the situation strange. She is following a man who looks exactly like her coworker, going somewhere unknown. Yet somehow, she feels comfortable. Holding on to his back feels natural, and the peaceful road and cool wind make the moment feel almost perfect. They eventually arrive at a small seaside hostel. Guang politely shows her to a simple but clean room and wishes her good night. Inside, Sue Meyer briefly meets another Korean tourist named Ura, who speaks sharply and seems easily annoyed. Later, Sue Meyer goes to the dining area for dinner. Ura loudly complains that the food tastes terrible and storms away, leaving Sue Meyer to sit with Guang instead. During dinner, Guang tells her that her car will be fixed the morning after next, meaning she will stay there for 2 days. When she asks what he does for a living, he simply says he draws. He explains that he travels from place to place, sketching whatever inspires him. The next few days pass peacefully. One morning they spend time at the beach. Later, Sue Meyer finds Guang's sketchbook and flips through it. She notices that every drawing shows couples. When she points it out, Guang calmly admits that he only likes drawing people who truly believe in their love and never doubt their future. Sue Meyer jokingly calls him a strange artist for only drawing couples. That night, Guang suddenly says he thinks they might be lost in the area. Sue Meyer immediately panics, thinking he is joking. But he insists he is serious and even tells a story about a couple who once disappeared nearby. Hearing this reminds Sue Meyer of another survey answer she had written, that her favorite movie genre is horror, especially occult stories. Frustrated, she complains that she enjoys watching horror movies, not living through them. Sensing her fear, Guang gently holds her hand, and the tense moment slowly turns warm again. Meanwhile, in the real world, Sue Meyer meets her friend Jian at a restaurant. They eat grilled beef intestines while catching up. Jian complains about the many blind dates she has been going on lately, saying none of them worked out. Once she even scheduled 2 dates on the same day, and the men accidentally ran into each other. Sue Meyer suggests she take a break from dating, but Jian refuses, saying she cannot live without a man and believes she will eventually find the right one. Jian then brings up the man from Sue Meyer's office that everyone has been talking about. She suspects Sue Meyer might actually like him. Sue Meyer quickly denies it and explains that the situation is the opposite. He is the one who likes her. Jian is shocked when she learns that he even confessed. She cannot believe Sue Meyer rejected him without mentioning it earlier. Curious, John searches for his photo online using a colleague's phone since he has no social media. After studying the picture, John gives an unexpected opinion. She says he is handsome, but he does not seem like Sue Meyer's usual type. According to her, Sue Meyer normally likes relaxed and easygoing men, while this man looks too serious and strict. Sue Meyer looks at the photo and slowly nods. In her mind, she convinces herself that she made the right decision. Park Kae-yang is not the one for her. Soon, the 27th Busan Comics Festival begins. Sue Meyer attends the event with Park Kae-yang, Yun-song, and Hani. Before entering the venue, Park Kae-yang suddenly stops her in the lobby. He gently removes a small petal stuck in her hair. Sue Meyer explains that it probably came from the flowers she picked up earlier. She then shows him a small bouquet she bought for Yun-song in case she wins an award. Sue Meyer says she hopes both Yun-song and Hani receive good news today. Before they go inside, Park Kae-yang quietly tells her not to worry about his confession from earlier. He says he is completely fine now. After that, the two walk into the festival hall together as the Busan Comics Festival Awards ceremony finally begins. The first award announced at the festival is the Popularity Award. With a huge number of fan votes, the winner is Yun-song, the author of The Man to Know. The audience applauds as she walks onto the stage and stands behind the microphone. She looks at the trophy for a moment before saying something surprising. Yun-song remarks that lately the only award she ever seems to win is the Popularity Award. The room suddenly becomes quiet. Then she jokingly adds that if they give her the same award again next year, she might stop coming to the festival. For a second, no one knows how to react, but she quickly laughs and says she was only kidding. The audience relaxes and laughs along as she bows and leaves the stage. From her seat, Sue Meyer watches the moment closely, while Park Kae-yang beside her quietly observes as well. Next, the new artist award is announced, and it goes to Hani for Not Okay. Soon after comes the biggest moment of the night, the Webtoon of the Year award. The winner is Hani Splank. The crowd erupts in applause as Hani stands frozen in shock. He slowly walks to the stage, clearly overwhelmed, and thanks everyone who supported him during his journey. After the ceremony, Sue Meyer notices Yun-song leaving the building quickly. She follows her outside and asks if she is all right. Yun-song insists she is fine, though her expression still shows frustration. Sue Meyer gently convinces her to return for the after-party, and after a short pause, Yun-song agrees. The after-party soon becomes lively and noisy. Hani is still full of excitement after winning the award, and even offers to buy expensive whiskey for everyone, which makes the group cheer loudly. Park Kae-yang joins the celebration too, joking that tonight he will even eat sushi, even though he normally avoids raw food. During the party, Hani receives a congratulatory phone call. He happily answers and thanks the caller, calling him Mr. Cho. The moment Yun-song hears that name, she suddenly freezes. She angrily says that whenever she tries to call Mr. Cho, he never answers. Then she turns to Hani and demands to know why he takes Hani's calls, but ignores hers for months. Hani looks confused and says he does not know anything about it. Still upset, Yun-song accuses him of secretly working with Mr. Cho to get revenge on her. She even wonders if Hani purposely asked director Hang to change his webtoon's release schedule so it would compete with her Friday upload. Hani quickly denies everything and explains that the director alone decides the release dates. Despite the tension, their conversation continues, sometimes serious and sometimes calmer. Later that night, Yun-song returns to her room, clearly drunk and exhausted. Sue Meyer helps her lie down on the bed and makes sure she is comfortable. Just then, Yun-song's phone starts ringing. The caller ID shows an unfamiliar name, so Sue Meyer answers it. The man on the line immediately asks if something happened to Yun-song. Sue Meyer explains that she attended the award ceremony, drank too much at the after-party, and is now asleep. The man thanks Sue Meyer for taking care of her. Curious, Sue Meyer asks who he is. The man calmly replies that he is Yun-song's boyfriend. Sue Meyer pauses in surprise when she hears that. He explains that they have been dating for some time, but Yun-song has not told many people about it yet. In the next scene, the company holds a small gift exchange event. Employees gather around a table filled with wrapped presents. Someone calls Sue Meyer's name, telling her it is her turn. She walks up to the table, looks through the gifts, and finally chooses one from the pile. At the gift exchange event, Sue Meyer picks a present while her coworkers joke that it looks just like her. She laughs it off, but from across the room, Park Kaeng quietly watches. In his mind, he reflects on all the small coincidences between them, choosing his gift, sharing the same elevator rides, and unknowingly visiting the same cafe. Even when he tried to ignore these moments, Sue Meyer would appear again in unexpected ways. Slowly, those small encounters made him start waiting for her without even realizing it. The story shifts back to the night of the Busan Comics Festival afterparty. While everyone is still celebrating inside, Sue Meyer steps outside into the cold air. A little unsteady, she stands alone until Park Kaeng joins her. As he approaches, she suddenly touches his face and softly says, "You actually made it." Surprised, he asks what she is doing there. She brushes it off, saying she just needed fresh air. As they walk back together, he carefully asks who she meant earlier. Sue Meyer quickly blames the alcohol. When he asks if she mistook him for someone else, she denies it and insists her relationship is going well. He simply nods and walks her to her room. The next morning, Yoon Song leaves in a hurry, refusing breakfast or conversation. Sue Meyer follows her, worried, but Yoon Song avoids talking about the previous night. When Sue Meyer casually mentions her boyfriend, Yoon Song suddenly stops and demands to know how she found out. Sue Meyer explains she answered a call while Yoon Song was passed out. Hearing this, Yoon Song becomes angry, scolds her for picking up someone else's phone, and storms off, leaving Sue Meyer confused. Back home, Sue Meyer rests and looks through photos from the workshop, where everyone seems happy. Later, she logs into the app again and meets Gwang at the hotel. He admits he stayed longer than planned because of someone he met, but now feels it is time to move on. When he invites her to travel with him, Sue Meyer realizes she genuinely wants to go with him. Back at work on Monday, things feel different. During a meeting, Park Hae-young avoids looking at her, and Sue Meyer begins acting awkward around him. She even hides when she sees him near the elevator, then questions why she is the one avoiding him. Trying to act normal again, she heads to a cafe, but accidentally walks straight into a glass door, embarrassing herself in front of everyone. Later, she covers the bump on her forehead with a hairpiece and pretends everything is fine at the office. Soon, a bigger problem appears. The webtoon rankings drop, placing Yoon Sung's work at number 2. The director warns Sue Meyer that if the rankings keep falling, they may not renew Yoon Sung's contract on good terms. Concerned, Sue Meyer approaches Yoon Sung, who is unusually quiet. She suggests they go out for a nice meal together, and Yoon Sung agrees. On the way, they unexpectedly run into Hani and Park Kae-young. Although Yoon Sung wants to avoid them, they end up dining together. The atmosphere is tense at first, especially between Yoon Sung and Hani. But slowly, it softens. During the conversation, Yoon Sung suddenly reveals that she does have a boyfriend, and Sue Meyer confirms it. Later that night, Sue Meyer apologizes to Park Kae-young for saying she had a boyfriend. She explains she panicked and did not know how to respond at the time. Park Kae-young understands and apologizes as well, admitting his sudden confession may have made her uncomfortable. Both feel relieved after clearing things up. After a quiet moment, Park Kae-young calls her name and asks one last question. Does that mean she is not actually in a relationship? Sue Meyer pauses, then quietly admits that he can think of it that way. Hearing this, Park Kae-young looks at her and says something unexpected. From now on, he asks if he can follow his own feelings freely. And with that, this part of the story comes to an end, hinting that even more interesting moments are yet to come.